Hi.
Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. Amazing guests the world over, incredible backgrounds, foundations. They've had to go through something. It doesn't have to be a near death experience. They might be a healer. They could be an international bestseller of a dozen books. They might be a professor. We've had a Delta Force operator who was the youngest ever admitted, who had the best approach to pretty much any dilemma. Been using it since he was doing baseball in Germany as a high schooler, and it carried him all the way through his career and so on. But it could be a scientist, you never know, or a very recognizable actor from Australia. We had somebody on as well from there. Okay, we're at Angels, Positivity, and Love. We did 50 shows in 2023, 3 shows a week now in 2024, fully booked into 2025. We've got an incredible guest today from California, Cynthia Sue Larson, who is a radio show host, author, healer, transformation, life coach, you name it, a ton of like pedigree, background, super intuitive, super connected, super flowing is how I'm going to put it. So we are totally graced, fortunate, lucky to have her on the show. She's super incredible. Cynthia, thank you very much for coming on Angels, Positivity, and Love.
Thank you, Michael, for having me. Such a pleasure to be with you today, and such an honor to be a part of this show and the program and what you're bringing forth at this time. So important what you're doing.
Well, I'm going to plug you just a little bit more and thank you for that. You're a show host of Living the Quantum Dream, which is part of the Dream Vision 7 network that's even helping Omega Institute out. And there's a bunch of beautiful shows there. You've been doing it a while. You're in San Francisco. You love describing yourself as a quantum optimist. You've got 6 books to your name right now. You've had some just incredible figures in the spiritual science, holistic landscape endorse you over the years as well. So this isn't something new to you in any sense. You've been doing this a long time. And again, you're a best-selling author and so on. Can you talk to us, though, about where did you get hooked? Was it age 5 you found yourself with the talent? Teenage years, early 20s? Did you put up a fight a little at the beginning? When did it all kind of click for you finally?
Oh yeah, I put up a fight. It's an interesting story because early in life I had a preview that I'd be an author, and that tantalized and terrified me. So I didn't really answer that when my parents would ask, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I'd say things like a marine biologist, but actually I could see these books, and it just felt like, oh no, because I was basically hiding. It's a long story, but I had my most recent past life is in the future. So that's usually sounds nuts. I know it doesn't sound nuts to you, but it sounds nuts to, I mean, I know it sounds nuts, but frankly, it was from a dystopian possible future that I checked out. I want to make sure we don't go there. And my whole life's work is dedicated to helping humanity navigate this time of global transformation. So I knew when I went through a Kundalini awakening, which just shook me to my core. That was 1994. And I was 32 years old. And that's when I couldn't run away from this feeling like, okay, you're here to be a leader, to be a teacher. And the ironic thing is I was hiding because of that past life in the future and now it's going to sound like sci-fi, but sort of followed from the central AI intelligence of the future, knowing that I jumped back to make sure we don't go to that future. That's where it starts sounding like, okay, this is totally sci-fi. Fortunately, angels are real. Fortunately, we are, we work together. And fortunately, I found some shaman to help me in 2010, which is now 14 years ago, to just clear the trauma that I was still feeling. And I'd written books by that point, but I had still been flying under the radar. I know now that it's time to be more public, to be more out there. And I'm doing my best. But once you've been flying under the radar this long, it's more comfortable. So I really thank you for all of the work that you've done with me prior to even starting this interview. So kind
We
of,
did a lot before the show for the audience just to know. We'll take some steps later, blow some sage, and have you do some angels and stuff. But I can just tell the audience that, not that there's a scale or anything, but I mean, Cynthia is off the charts, connected, flowing, energy, intuitive, whatever you want to use for your moniker, lingo, jargon. But wow. So she pays attention and flows it and does it and doesn't think twice. And on top of that, I'm going to mention when you mentioned a past life in the future, not a big deal. I know it's a lot for the brain to handle, but think of Seth, 1970s, Jane
Yeah.
Roberts, light being,
Yeah.
oh, meet Seth, only one out of couple hundred figures that won't show in a human body, corporeal. It'll be more like a Cheshire cat in the sky. But he talked about, again, this now point being able to both
Yes.
alter or influence the past and the future. Can you talk to us about what did you have to do a lot of reading, or did this just occur organically, or did you rely on Castaneda, Ruiz, Eckhart Tolle? Who did you dive into when this is all starting to happen?
Well, when the Kundalini was the big shakeup, because that was after I'd gone through UC Berkeley. I was trained in physics. At that point, I had an MBA degree, also Master of Business Administration. I was a project manager at Citibank. I'm just showing you living a very structured, approved life by the mainstream. When the Kundalini just shook me to my core, I needed that wake up because I was meant for something different than regular business life. So I would credit the Kundalini. But then once I realized I'm not going crazy, I had questions about that. I'm seeing my very high sense perception went exponential and to unheard of levels. So basically, I could see interdimensional beings at high levels that were there to make sure I woke up. And if I tried, what I mean is wake up even in waking life, you know, they wanted me to be aware of who I really am. And so what I would keep doubting them in that time of Kundalini. I'm talking that was 1994, and I would doubt them because I was struggling. I wanted to go back to I thought I wanted to go back to regular life, but if I did that, then I would get epic psychokinetic effects at levels that you would. I mean, you'd read about these in books or see them in movies. You wouldn't expect sticks and stones to be hitting the windows of my house when there's no wind outside, to hear things rolling under my bed when there's no room for anything to roll under my bed, a door slam when it wasn't even open, Indian flute music from my living room. Not all bad things, but and then other even weirder stuff. I'm not going to I don't want to freak people out, but to me, it developed an awareness that this is the real reality. Consciousness is the fundamental reality. And I think I was trying to push it away, like, no, no, I want to be normal. And every level of my high self, it all just came in like, you cannot go that way. You've made your choice, man up, woman up. So that was the big, big calling, 1994. But prior to that, I did remember my past lives as a young child. So I wanted to be dead again because that's like, it feels so good. But again, I had an angelic intervention early in life too. So those are my two correction points just to keep me on track. And hopefully I won't need any more. But if I do, I know that my team will intervene. And I know miracles happen all the time. I know that this interdimensional world that you speak of, and people sometimes may think, oh, that's woo woo or it's airy fairy. No, it's completely real, completely real.
And especially society's playing catch up to what already has been for a long time. Think of indigenous cultures all over the globe for thousands of years and everything else.
Yes.
But you've got a push going on, just more of at a materialism thinking level, which is fine. Everyone's where they're at. But if you talk about the Pentagon disclosure, these companies that technology bodies, UFO, UAP stuff, it's interesting. There's people who are absolutely pushing for documentation and what happened where. Can you talk to us about the broader aspects of sort of the heart, consciousness, awareness for man, what this is really about at a broader, it's nothing wrong. Like in Texas where I'm at, JV or high school football, I should say, is number one. College football, how can anyone not say it's not a billion-dollar industry or something? But there's still the NFL. And I'm going to argue that the NFL is the heart, the consciousness, the awareness that's coming to mankind that's all love and above, loves the fabric of the universe. So there's still something broader than all the thinking, the scientists, the science, and that, which has to happen. Can you just give us a historical lesson, a snapshot of what's been going on in whatever time frame you want?
Oh gosh, well, yeah, collectively, globally, this human evolutionary point, it's all about love. It's about mastering the heart center. This is known as the fourth world. And I've researched the Hopi and written an article about that, because the indigenous wisdom traditions, they know that, like you said, they've always known. They've been the dreamers. They understand we're living in, they didn't call it a simulation. They had a better word. It's a dream. And they know this is a dream. It's a waking dream, a living dream. But it's just like any, when you've had a good dream, when you wake up and you feel like you're walking on sunshine, like you can see rainbows everywhere, like there's so much love when you have a good dream and you wake up laughing, which, and I'm saying things, I'm inviting people to have these experiences. You may be listening to me and like, but Cynthia, that's never happened. Well, not yet. How good can it get? So you can wake up laughing. You can have these moments where you are brought into the highest level, where you can feel what it is to be at that level of love, where you do forgive yourself and everything that's happened, the events of the past, the institutions, the people, whatever. When you just feel yourself leveling up emotionally, rising from the dredges and the heaviness of the sorrows and the grief and the fear, the anxiety and the anger, when you feel like you're rising up, that's what we're doing collectively right now. It is about love. We're in the heart center right now. We're moving into the throat. We're raising this, into, people call it the high heart. And then it's really coming into the ability to speak it. And so it is. So, which may seem dangerous for humans to be able to say something and then it's true. Are we ready for that?
Mm.
Well, how good can it get when we are guided with handrails and the coaching of the guides and the angels? Are we ready to start learning this? I say, yes, we are. How good can it get when we can say something and see the miracles working wonders on the earth? And this is quantum physics. I've got a book about quantum jumping. It's very interesting. Like today may be the day that I'll be finalizing this next book I'm working on. So it's very interesting, the work we've been doing today, Michael.
Mm.
Very, very interesting because it's so close. I'm just doing some final touch up. It'll be in the week or two. So this next book that I'm writing is about the Mandela Effect and its society. And I work with guidance. I work with my layers of conscious agency, my high levels of self. And as you go up, it's like everybody's working in cooperation, collaboration, and cahoots is an old word. Like you're in cahoots. Yeah, we're in cahoots. Because as it goes up, we work together. And that's the team feeling that I have about humanity right now, where we're going this time of the heart, moving into the high heart, moving into the throat. It's like a bubbling up. It's a renaissance of wishing blessings for the world and bringing that light, that love. So I do a lot of research. Like I said, I didn't really answer your question about where do my books come from. I haven't really studied. My guides didn't suggest that I study Carlos Castaneda. They said study the Hopi, study. So I've looked into the indigenous traditions. I've met with indigenous wisdom keepers as part of the Language of Spirit conferences. They were dialogues, Bohemian dialogues, led by Leroy Little Bear, the Blackfoot from Canada, who's Harvard trained, and he's helping bring back the buffalo on the United States and Canadian continent. So yeah, so I listened to what I consider my elders, who are the wisdom keepers, the traditionalists, and I look to the physicists like David Bohm and Einstein and all the others. And then I bring together what I can see that humanity needs at this time so that the evolutionary process can go quite well. As we really, like you said, come into our hearts, really feel this love that we hear about in the perennial philosophy and all of the spiritual traditions. And this is the way forward, to not let ourselves get bogged down or sucked down into the drama, the conflict. We don't need that anymore. We're here to rise above the pain, the suffering, to say, okay, we can acknowledge it, but individually and collectively to forgive and to rise up together, which I know sounds very simple, and it is simple, and it can be doable. Maybe not easy for everyone, but we are at a point that we're ready for this. And I'm glad to be part of this process.
Can you talk to us about the difference in flows? Very basic flows. What flows through, we'll call it the heart, versus what flows up here and down here. It's unconditional love, timelessness, no limits, and a lot of other cool words. Awareness. Up here, mostly like fear, rejection, worry, resistance, reacting, stress, guilt, all that stuff. So sort of a giant piano key scale, trillions of layers of down that way, trillions of layers, and like what you always say about how good can it get upwards. Like he can just keep going and expansion and growth never stop. But talk to us about the basics here, and that once you get that, what happens next?
Yeah, love the piano key reference. This is my view of dimensional levels of conscious agency, and my guides have often asked me, Cynthia, what keys are you playing on this piano? Like what dimensional keys, creating a chord, are you playing right now? So often when they would ask me that, I'd notice I'm one dimension, like a photon, like a one-dimensional being, very simple, but it's let there be light. And then I'm often 6 and 8, which would be six would be like the to me it's analogous to the third eye chakra, and 8 would be just above. I like to be that pilot wave, to be dreaming. 6 and 8 are the dreamers of humanity, what we can be collectively together, what we are when we work together. At its best, the heart chakra is about love. It's about um, such kindness, such compassion, such just truly feeling a camaraderie and a knowingness that we are here to be in perfect relation with one another. That's the reason for our life. When my guides asked me, "What are you living for?" I know the answer is love, and to feel it in one's heart and feel and allow oneself to feel so much love that your heart's it seems like it's expanding, expanding, expanding. It feels like it's going to break open, burst open. It might cause tears to come, but this is a flow of energy, and it can be a release. Some people, when they've held back that much love, it's hard to feel it. But this is what we're living for. This is who we really are. When we feel it right, that energy rise into the throat chakra, we can feel an awakening of speaking blessings into being, of giving voice to how good can it get reality for not just myself, but for Michael, for the entire planet, for the world, to recognize that collectively all beings are here for love, regardless of what star system they may have come from. Could be Sirius, the Pleiades, Andromeda, Arcturus, all these and much, much more. But we are all here together. We all have the essence of this star seed knowingness in our hearts, because it's the nature of who we collectively and individually are. So to allow that feeling of flow to just naturally arise, and to trust that the wisdom of the heart can now be spoken with the voice, thought with the mind, that we can think good things for one another. We can think good events and good ideas. And this is really that flow. The Hopi on their prophecy rock, they show headless beings at this time that we're entering right now. This is the time of the Great Awakening. And when you see the little beings with their heads, little boxy heads kind of coming off, that's the path that it's possible that we could feel that dissociation. However, the path that continues on the Hopi prophecy rock is showing the people with their heads still attached. So we can keep that flow. We can keep our heads about us. We can know that someone that we think we disagree with them, maybe they root for the wrong football team, or maybe it's the wrong political team, or the wrong this or the wrong that, whatever we think it is. That's our brain thinking that. But can we let our heart lead the way? Can we do what we know to be right? That to be a good person is to be there for someone else, to feel that love. I say we can.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'll read a quick quote from an angel about compassion. And it's sometimes the person next to you or a stranger just needs validation via love and compassion. A smile changes any moment. So too does laughter or a few kind words. Be compassion to all. Do it. Can you talk to us about how simple it really is?
Yeah, it really is just that simple to show up. We often think that there's not much we can do. We tend to think, I've thought that too. I've thought, why bother writing the books? People could figure this out. Well, if you assume that, then you're assuming a whole lot, because actually maybe people can't figure out every one's my strange life experiences. That is a gift to share the weirdness and the wonderfulness, wild and woolliness of me. Similarly, just to share a smile, you might think, what good can that do? That moment is priceless. You're in exactly the right place at the right time, intended to be perhaps an angel for another person, to be the one who shows up, who walks in the door, and people really can greet you that way. When you're open to being that, you can see that you are. You can bring a smile to a person who's just feeling so weary. You can listen to somebody, who just wants to be heard. You can be that person in the grocery store line. You might think that nothing's happening here. This is heaven on earth. You can tell your sister and your brothers by the flowers in their eyes, like
Mm,
that song, The Road to Shambhala by Three Dog Night. Love that song.
mm. Uh, Human to human interaction allows for soul to soul contact. How about that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We'll do random quotes. I've got about 18, 20 pages of quotes. Could be Eckhart Tolle, it could be Wayne Dyer, it could be from an angel, Jesus, Mary, Muhammad. Who knows? We're going to find out. I'll give you 2 to 4. React any way you want. It could just inspire you to like talk about this, or
Okay.
that one quote that you're like, oh no, 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 no. I love that quote. Okay. Einstein said the only source of knowledge is experience. Quote number 1.
Yeah, that's interesting. Sometimes we forget that and we think that we can. Oh, you're going to read another one.
No, go ahead. Go
Okay.
with that one, actually.
It's so funny because when we were before the show started, that was very unexpected. I don't usually see Einstein, and he showed up. You had me looking toward a tree and like, oh, Einstein, what are you doing there? Very funny. So then to hear this quote, it's delightful to me. So there was that element of giddy happiness. Like there he is again. And
He
it
was
just made me want
connected. He was
to
super connected.
made me want to laugh with joy. So that I want to admit that too. And it's so funny because that he's talking about experience and this is how we learn. And my mother was a kindergarten teacher and she liked to give the children that something manipulative. She said things they could touch and hold, like a little pen or maybe not a pen, but something that they could group them and see like here, this is a set of things and you can count, you can do math, the children can start thinking in terms of what they have experience with. So it's a very powerful practice. And I think that's true for all of us. And we can sometimes skip that step and think, I will just study this on the internet. But it's hard if you don't have experience with what you're learning about to really feel the fullness of it.
Okay, a couple more quotes. Trust more, worry less. There's no such thing as silence. There's only stillness. Dolknife, the Native American chief unconditional love spirit guide, said that in 2012. Joy and Angel said, enjoy every moment so you are laughing. Your laugh is healing and hope to others. And I'll do one more. Red Shirt said, life lessons lead to compassion. Can you talk to us about any or all of those quotes? Trust more, worry less. There's no such thing as silence. There's only stillness. Enjoy every moment so you are laughing. Your laugh is healing and hope to others. And life lessons lead to compassion. Where will you take us?
Those are beautiful. I love all of them. I think the one that hits me based on my daily practice would be the one about silence and stillness, because that's actually something. It's very interesting. I feel like that there is no noise, but there's a lot of conversation. I feel like everything talks to me. Everything talks to me. And so when that's happening, then I feel like that quote is from someone who understands this. And exactly where I go is stillness. So I'm just showing that I'll slow my thoughts down to a full stop. And that is stillness. And what I find if I can stay in stillness usually happens anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes in just absolute stillness, no thoughts. So if I can stay there for that long, then it's usually something extraordinary happens and the infinite eternal is right there. And it's just as good as being dead again. It's that stillness is powerful, very powerful. And from a quantum perspective, to come out of that stillness is to walk into any reality with any healing, any miracle that's necessary. So that practice of realizing there is no silence, that's someone else who can totally, I'm sure that person knows everything's talking to him too. Like, yep. And then when you can bring it to stillness, wow. So that one's talking to me because of my current practice of this stillness approach. But I love all the other ones too.
Can you talk about the life coaching, transformational coaching, I'd say intuitive coaching that you do and how it's evolved over the years?
Yes, I'm using a practice that was shown to me because I felt, well, first it evolved based on, first I procrastinated and I didn't want to do it. My guides were saying, this is what you're very good at doing. And I thought, well, that may be true, but I don't think I'm ready. I'm not ready yet. They said, okay, we'll get ready. And I just kept putting it off, like, and they kept checking with me, like, are you going to start? And I'm like, oh yes, soon, soon. Well, then I got 3 phone calls to my unlisted phone number from 3 people asking, can you talk to my angels? And on the third, within a span of a few days, when the third one called, then I said, how did you get my number? Was it on my website? Because I don't think I put the phone number on the website. She said, you have a website? I'm like, oh my gosh. So I took that to be the big boot, like get out there. Like, okay. And I do promise my angels, I listen. I'm slow too. So I feel like I'm slow. So when I get 3 messages, then okay, got it. I will now hang out the shingle and start doing this practice. So my approach is that I do a meditation with a blind read before each client session, tuning in to get their high self, middle self, low self, and their divine gift, type it all up, email it right before we start. I didn't used to email it. I would just keep it to myself. But the thing is, it's a message. These are messages about that person. They're for me. So it makes sense to me. It's written in words that make sense to me. Like, okay, I get it. So that's how the whole process started some 25 years ago. Well, no, it was started. Yeah, gosh, it is about 25 years. Yeah, it took, I was going to say it took 5 years after my Kundalini to process that. It took me a while to integrate everything. Yeah, so then about 5 years after Kundalini, about 1999, I thought, okay, I'll start doing this. Once I got the kick in the pants from those 3 people calling me. And it's been about 25 years. So it's evolving. I work mostly with people who are either authors, healers, light workers. It seems like I mostly work with people who really understand this to begin with, but probably they're working with clients too. And so but I'll work with anybody that feels called to contact me if there's a good fit. Some people, when I say if it's a good fit, some people seek because they read my book's website, they see, oh, you can change the past. I've had this trauma occur. I need to change the past. And that may be not a good fit. I will tell them, yes, the past can change, but I can't guarantee the outcome. And so they need to be at a certain place where they're open to, working with me. But that's pretty obvious usually if it's a good fit or not. And so I'm very blessed to be able to work with wonderful clients and really enjoy being able to assist people in their growth and expansion and stepping into their full empowerment to be what they came here to Earth to be at this time. It's a very important time on Earth.
And again, I've seen you in action, and you're highly flowing, intuitive channel, all the above for the lingo, but just woof, you do it. Can you talk to us about your 25 years? You've been invited to speak. You've participated in workshops here and there at different institutes and so on. Can you just hit the usual places so that folks can hear what
Yeah.
those 25 years have encompassed?
Yeah. So I've been recently, the last several years, I've been a guest at Gaia TV. So Regina Meredith has me on Open Minds with Regina Meredith. So you can see, I think I've been there 3 or 4 times. Gaia has a couple of documentaries featuring me. One is called, I think, Quantum Jumps, and one's called Enlightenment. So you can check those out. And I've been a guest of Deepak Chopra on his TV show. So this is just spanning 25 years of all this, getting out there, doing things. Conference-wise, I've helped to coordinate some Foundations of Mind conferences that were held at UC Berkeley and in San Francisco. We had the hippies who saved physics. We had lots of papers that were published, including some by Henry Stapp. I co-authored a paper with George Weissman. He's a physicist, one of the hippies who saved physics. I've worked with Fred Allen Wolf and helped him do some research on his papers. And he's in the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? He's Captain Quantum. I've been a participant at the Language of Spirit conferences that I briefly mentioned earlier, which are powerful. They're not happening right now, but I have so much respect for what was done with David Bohm, the physicist, and then Leroy Little Bear, who's still with us, a great leader, and Leroy, just lots of other indigenous elders, too many to mention all of them. And then most recently, I'm working with the conference called International Mandela Effect Conference, which is having annual in-person events where we've got one in November this year, 2024. And we have monthly live streams. The website for that is imec.world. And just last month, I did a workshop, a retreat with Paula Harris. She's been one of the longest, most to me, she's my most respected UFO researcher in the field. She's Italian American, and she's the one who brought the interview with Colonel Philip Corso forward. So she understands, and she's a contactee as well. She met with on Mount Shasta, which she recently was talking about her experience meeting an extraterrestrial interdimensional being, and but she prefers to focus on her interviews and what she's gathered over the years. So to do an event with her, we were really bringing together this idea of higher levels of consciousness, and we did some close encounters of the fifth kind, going out in the desert night, looking up to the stars and meditating and getting some personal connections with UFOs on Friday and Saturday night. Yeah, there's Paula Harris, and she's the she runs lots of events. She's got some coming up this year. That's starworksusa.com. And I love her book, Connecting the Dots, where that would be if you wonder, where do you start with Paula? Get the book, Connecting the Dots, because it'll cover all these beautiful interviews that she's done over the years, which start to show that the UFO phenomenon is not about nuts and bolts. It's not about the machine. It's really about consciousness. It's about us. And you can see that come through in that book. And she's just a gem. So that's a summary of current things that are happening and what's going on now for me.
Can we do like a soap opera digest review? And we're going to do small, narrow, not nitpicking, but society always has something going on. So it can be a yes or no, but it's going to be like a little checklist as if we're at a barbershop salon, we're catching up. Have you been paying attention to the UAP, UFO disclosure stuff? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. What's been your favorite observation? Is it that there's just more movement going on? People are taking it more seriously, or is it more nuanced? What's your answer on that?
I think it's nuanced because it's like on the surface edge of it. I'm glad that the topic is coming up, because I've been a contactee for many of my years. I think a lot of intuitives and people who've had near-death experiences are contactees, so it fits in my flow. So I'm glad. A lot of the things that people tend to fixate on, I think that it's giving our collective consciousness an opportunity to slough off and clear some of the fears and phobias and concerns that people naturally would have, like why has this been kept secret and what's going on? What does the government know? A lot of it is that the government doesn't know what to do with a lot of what they have because it's consciousness driven. And you'll see that if you look at Paula Harris's work, or my own experiences show me that quite clearly. So it means that even if if the government obtains a lot of stuff, you can't make the stuff work when it comes from operating all of our consciousness on the inside, and that's how the so-called stuff operates.
Mm.
So I think that's my simplest way of summing it up, but I'm really glad that it's happening, and I'm glad it's giving us collectively in the United States and in the world an opportunity to take a look at the overall phenomenon, hopefully with discernment and seeing with the eyes of the heart, because I think that's really important. And what we want to do is don't go into that head separating, like don't do the thing that's shown on the Hopi prophecy rock where people lose their heads. Don't lose your head. You can keep your head and be understanding that this is a time of disclosure. The disclosure, as Paula Harris would say, it's already happening. It's already happened. Um, she feels like the information is there, which in some ways it is. Obviously, there's more that our governments are yet to fully disclose about how they've been spending taxpayer money and all that. So
Mm.
that's it. There's a lot more. The stuff that I've personally witnessed, I haven't really seen much about that. So I'm interested. I don't think I probably won't, because I think my own direct connections with energies and beings, it'll be a very personal experience. So I've had very interesting insights, and they're very hopeful. Now that I'm mentioning it, maybe I should just summarize it quickly. But in 1987, right after do you remember the harmonic convergence? Jose Arguelles was part of that. I did not really follow that. I didn't read what he was writing. Jose Arguelles he wrote about dream spell. He created a game that was the Mayan calendar, like astrology for the Mayans. You can go online and look up what day you're born. You can get your Mayan astrology just right there online. It's you used to have to buy the kit. But anyway, Jose did the harmonic convergence that I was ignoring. In fact, embarrassingly, I was laughing about it, not to be mean, but I just thought, what are they doing? Ha ha, nervous laugh. Okay, well, what happened next? Yeah, this is what happens when you laugh sometimes. I started, it was during the day that I worked at Citibank by day. So I was a project manager. That meant 50-hour weeks. So I'd come home exhausted. Usually the sun had set. I need to do the gardening and I'm doing it at night. It was weird to work that many hours, but during that time, that's when at night I would fall asleep and then go into a lucid dream, it started, the first dream was a job interview that I didn't apply for with a being, a very tall humanoid being who asked me to select the best cabbage in a head of like lettuce in this little, it looked like a produce cart. And it was easy to see the one with the big energy field. I said, that one? You mean that one? He nodded, and then he said, come with me to orientation for this project we're working on. So I was seated in this huge auditorium with hundreds of beings, humanoid beings, but I didn't see a lot of humans like myself. I felt like I was sort of a minority. And it was 1987, and the project was the Global Human Mind Redesign Project. I was quality assurance. My job, the overall job was humanity needs an upgrade for the way that our minds work, not the brain, not the DNA, not the nuts and bolts, but the mind, which is the consciousness, the organ. It's like a morphogenic field that shows how you think unique to yourself. And so my job was just to try these little designs out. And the goal was to make humanity more creative, more empathetic, but less crazy. So care more about each other, empathize more with each other, be very, very creative and receptive and intuitive, but not crazy. And the sharing of consciousness would start happening. So telepathy would start becoming a thing that you can't conceal your thoughts because everyone can read your mind. So that's kind of what the design ideas were looking like. It all sounds great. And so I'd get an idea. They'd show me, here's the team from Arcturus. And I think, yay, pass. I'm just doing a pass fail. Like it feels, I'd try that consciousness out, that mind. Oh, I love it. Feels good. Okay, next one, the Pleiadian. Yes, pass. Andromeda, pass. Syrian, pass. Okay. And then I'd get one and I'm like, what the heck is this? It would be like walking into a house with no windows. And then I have to give a fail. And I'd like, I have to give the fail. Yes. Who did this? These reptilians over here, like, oh my gosh. Well, long story short, I've made friends with everybody on the team. To me, that was a team. This project went on for weeks. Every night I'm working on it, like a 10-hour job day. I'm working 10 hours by day, 10 hours at night. I'm exhausted. And it went on for weeks. And I'm waking up panicking, telling my husband, there are UFOs out there. And he'd said, where? I said, right there. He said, I don't see anything. And I said, well, they're interdimensional. They can cloak themselves, they can collapse. I sounded like a nutcase. But anyway, my takeaway from that was right after 1987, that's when the indigo kids, the crystal kids, the rainbow kids came in with those new ways of thinking. And we are all collectively upgrading at this time. So that's my very unique perspective on it. Will we see that in our disclosure? I don't know. But I promised the team at that time, I don't want to talk about this. I said, when everybody knows that you guys are real, I'll talk about it. So now I'm talking about it.
Yeah. I mean, we're pretty close. And I know for the person who might have tuned in and they can't allow for any of this, you're cool. It's one of those experiences like you only play softball in the community league, but you're just never going to touch highlight or go sailing, especially in a Pacific Ocean where you can't see land. Like I am never going outside of the sight of land sailing again. Maybe could be a cruise ship or something, or a ship of some sort. I'm going to light some sage for you. We're still going to talk this way. Folks at home, this is a staple on the show. Although there was a show the other day that I had such a wonderful guest, I completely forgot to do anything. I was an idiot. But the guest was so wonderful that you win. So you win some, you lose some. There's like 162 shows by the end of 2024. You're going to do it 160, 159 times if you watch the show a lot. Plus meet angels, hear angels, whatever you'll allow for. And that's kind of what we were just talking about coming in. What will you allow for? Forget all the big talk. What are you allowing for daily? A little more laughter, a little more fun, a little more good food for you, good times, laughter for no particular reason, spread the good cheer. Here's sage, though, red-tailed hawk feather. You're already getting it in California, but ask for flowers, ask for musical symphonic light from the universe, love, a little taste, like seasoning on your seafood, if you want. Whatever's really cool for you. If you want light on your eyelids and even applause from some of your favorite folks saying, good job for sharing that story. Catch what you can catch. You're the only one who can figure this out or do the figuring, but you can also just ask for help and think of it this way. Last analogy, baseball. You can be the catcher with a huge catcher's mitt the size of like 4 feet across. You don't have to pitch. You don't have to bat. You don't have to go to the outfield. And you certainly don't have to go sit in a dugout. Just receive. It's your birthday, New Year's, Christmas, Boxer Day, all wrapped into one. And that's it. But set your intent. Just be like, hey, sock it to me. I'll take a little extra light. Love, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Okay. What are you catching, Cynthia, there in California? Did you get some sage? Did you get some flowers? Get some sparkle?
Yeah, yeah. It felt like some spicy stuff too, like curry or something. Some really good seasonings. Felt tiger energy for some reason. Not sure what that was. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll put a tiger up on this second. Everybody, I love commercials from energy companies and car
Ooh.
companies, because you take out the brand and put
Mhm.
in the word love, compassion, or humanity, and it usually makes sense. So everyone's got a tiger in their tank. That's the tiger the divine mother rides on, and almost like a deity like tiger figure. We didn't do
Yeah.
this before the show, and we're going to be
Mhm.
very dorky here, but I'm going to put a tiger up for people to experience. You can put a hand out to this photo, and just this tiger's on everyone's team. It's action, and he'll talk. So feel what you can feel. Don't judge. If people need extra help, breathe through your mouth. And my staple, patented, one only rule or bit of structure is, let me try to remember what it is. Oh, ask for help. Hey, angels, universe, loving universe, get me out of my head into my heart. Help me connect with this tiger. Ask a question about your workplace. Ask a question about your weekend coming up, what vacation to go on, get an answer. But anybody who's really gung ho and absolutely out of it, put your hand out like you own a big dog in the room and let the tiger walk by and feel fur. It's
Oh,
soft, shampooed fur, not like the jaguar that's wiry and short. So you're going to love this tiger. And tons of people have done this. Are you feeling the fur?
yes.
Yay. And then can you have the tiger remind us why it's not about thinking, how it's
Uh,
action through the heart?
yeah, it's nuzzling me. It's like a big cat, just like rubbing and then just like putting the forehead there. Yeah, it's just, and what do you feel when that happens, when an animal loves you so much that they do that? Yeah, all the words go out of your head. It's like whatever you thought you were gonna do, it's like like, oh, my friend is here. What a friend. What support.
I'll put one angel up just, and then we'll get back to talking some stuff about the world, the universe, cosmos, galaxy. Here's Joy, an angel. First angel, usually people meet. She's an ambassador, communicator. Let her do all the work. An American only has to get out of their head into their heart. For some reason, Australians, New Zealanders, and a lot of people from India just know how to get this done without trying. Ask her a question, get an answer, get a hug. Hear a 28-year-old peppy voice. And if you want to hug, 1 million ways to feel energy at your end. Ask for anything. You got to learn how to get out of your thinking and just you go for it. What's Joy got as a reminder for us all, Cynthia?
Seeing, well, first I saw a cupcake and then I got roller skates. So it feels like it's like your birthday, celebrate. And then the roller skates, she's spinning, like doing that little circle thing that I've never done that, but I guess we can, we can visualize it. We were surfing earlier, so of course we can do roller skating.
I've got a good question for you to ask for the benefit of the crowd, but what does
Yeah.
she say about Pleiadians, Andromedans, Arcturians, Lyrans, Orion folks, Sirius folks? Don't be too serious. But the bottom line is, what does she remind us about how big love really is across the world, the universe?
She says star family is soul family. Star family is soul family. I can really, it's like I can feel this message. It's not just the words. Yeah, soul family. That's such a good word. I'm just hearing what she's saying and I'm just like, and then I'm processing it like, woo.
Well, think about Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Richard Dreyfuss, Star Wars, and a couple gajillion other TV series and movies, and how it's all getting worked in for us if it's not fear-based. And
Yes.
shocker. But the point on this is just to get people more comfortable with like, hey, love is love, details are details, fear is fear. You get to choose where you're going to put yourself in any second. I got a figure, an angel named Dale, who I've gotten to see as a full-on human, has popped in at different points in my life, even before I knew any of this was possible, just looking out for me. I'll throw myself under the bus. My first job out of college, I kind of took a year off. I worked in Nantucket. I had a lifelong connection there, but I wanted to spend some time there before the corporate world sucked me up and I'm gone and you can never go back. It was a 1990, a recession in Nantucket, and all jobs are taken. I mean, I've had restaurant experience. You can't get lawn care, landscaping jobs. I mean, I'm told by my family, I've got 2 weeks left and off the island. So I'm optimistically getting a parking permit at the police station, and it's bulletproof glass, a line, and somebody quits. He's in a uniform, looks like a fisherman out of a Mrs. Paul's fish stick commercial because it's a yellow raincoat on top of the uniform, perfectly manicured fellow. But he slams the door, a third door he slammed, and the whole place went from happy to like, ooh. And as he leaves, it was the first time I was ever publicly funny. I jerked my thumb up in the air and in front of everyone behind the bulletproof glass was like Belinda, Melinda. I yelled, "Does that mean there's a job opening here?" And everyone burst out laughing. And the dispatcher was like, "Are you serious?" And then, college instincts kicked in, desperation. I was like, "Absolutely." And I was getting interviewed 40 minutes later by the chief. I got hired as a meter maid / rent-a-cop. I stood at the top of Main Street. I answered questions. Best thing that ever happened to me. I could not afford anything, though. They paid you nothing. I'm eating out of cans every third or fourth day. And so getting a sandwich at Henry's Sandwich Shop, the owner, Henry, looked like a skinny Santa Claus, was a big deal, but I could never afford the brownie. He showed up as Henry, the owner, and somehow distorting time and space. The employees didn't know. He'd wink at me. He's the owner. He can do anything. Grab a brownie, even though I've paid for my stuff in my bag, and jam the brownie in and be like, go have a good one. And I'd go eat that brownie 20 minutes later. And I swear to God, like, I know everybody's like, why would a brownie taste so good? But I was like, yum, having a moment in life. And that's Dale. He looks like Greg Kinnear, but if you don't remember that actor, then George Clooney's fine. Look out your window in the yard and go ahead and see him leaning against a tree. Ask him anything, have a chat. But just 5 weeks ago, after 13 years of this, he said, "Hey, I've got an Andromedan background."
Woo!
Yeah, it's like finding out, though, that your cousin's MI6 and you didn't know, and you think spies are kind of cool. So all I'm saying is it's big. Oh, and what's Dale? He's a super nice coach, coached an Olympic athlete we all know from the 70s, 80s who won a lot of golds. You can kind of see a face in there. What's Dale have as a reminder to keep it all just light, keep it real light?
I just feel like he's saying we're all friends, we're all family. It's, yeah. I think sometimes people forget that we get kind of sucked into drama of some sort, like, but what if we are all friends? He really sees it that way. I can see that, that's how you know when he's embodied too. It's like it's him, because who else pulls that off? Carries himself with so much joy de vivre and brotherly love and connection. He's really special.
He's very endearing, is the word I've settled on. Down to earth. It doesn't mean angels are perfect on everything. From our perspective, they definitely are, but they're still learning from us and they don't discriminate. So it's true unconditional love. And my only shtick or reminder for everybody is just ask. You have to set your intent. There's no desire to interfere or alter your reality in any way, unless you signed up for some like course correction 20 years into your life and you were supposed to get some help that was predetermined help. Like you're a giant slalom skier to make it through those big gates. You signed up for at least 3 of the gates you have to make down that giant mountain, and angels will help you with that at some point during waypoints during your life. But the rest of it, blah, 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 you really should just learn to trust more, allow more, and see what happens. To you, Cynthia, if you could only pick one group, angels, Pleiadians, Andromedans, something, you're going to an island that's got electricity, stocked fridge, cabanas, you're in Cabo. Let's do it this way. Who's the one group, indigenous, shaman? You can only choose, is it Einstein? Who are you taking to Cabo with you at the cabana? Totally paid for, luxury, you get to hang out for we'll do a weekend, a long weekend. Who is it that you're selecting as your one and only? Big Mary in the sky, Buddha? Who do you want as your compatriot in Cabo at a cabana?
Like one person is what you're saying.
One person or a group of Pleiadians or a group of Andromedans, Arcturians? Who is it that you like absolutely think are kind of the life of the party?
I think a group of shaman would be my go-to because they are boots on the ground, but they got their
Mm.
head in the stars. And so they know what it's like to be embodied and to live it for year after year after year. Um, I love all of those people. They're great. Those are great choices. But I'd have to go with the indigenous shaman. Because and also this is like I keep saying, this is such an interesting time on Earth. I'd want to know, what are they dreaming? What are they? Because those of us who can sense parallel adjacent realities, we're bringing things in, and so I want to know what's on their dream scan. What's on their radar. And when you share dreams with other shamans, you can start to you can gravitate toward, it's like sharing recipes, kind of, like you come to a potluck, except they'd be sharing dreams. And what I would want to do is like, let's choose the dreams that feel the most resonant, the most high vibe for this planet, because I know we're steering it. And so that's my fun, is like, let's steer the planet in a fun way. Let's choose the best dreams.
Who do you really enjoy that you wouldn't mind having folks pick up the book for or do a little research on? Is it Viodo, like Four Winds Society? Is it Sandra Ingerman? Is it somebody from Peru, Mexico, Ruiz? Like, give us just a taste of a couple pointers, directions
Yeah.
people can go.
Well, I'm a big Lao Tzu fan. I love the Tao Te Ching and the I Ching. So I know that's like kind of esoteric. Right now, there's a book I love. It's not for young souls, not for baby souls, not this is for old souls only. So don't get it unless you feel like I'm an old soul, and you've got to mean it.
Yeah.
It's Thich Nhat Hanh, the diamond that cuts through illusion. Powerful, powerful. But you don't want, this is really, once again, not for everybody. It's a little bit, why is that? Because it's kind of like going into the silent stillness thing all over again, but this time the Diamond Sutra is just one of recognizing that I am not a lifespan, I'm not a living being. It basically it's cutting yourself loose of all of the expectations and the boxiness of thinking like I am a being, I am a human, and just saying like I am so much more than that. I am not the being, I'm not the lifespan. And so it's a little bit mind blowing because the disconnect can happen. And if you need those handrails and you need the structure, then this would not be appropriate. But if you're ready for it, I think that's a ticket to the cosmic ride. That's a ticket to true awakening. And it is the beginning of seeing through all illusion and really, that enlightenment path.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm going to share this quote and people can freeze frame, pause it, but subscribe, like, share, comment while you're at it and what you've enjoyed from Cynthia. But I'm going to read this out loud in a second. This plagued me. I wrote this right after the Nantucket thing when I got to New York and I'm working on Wall
Oh,
Street. I wrote down a bunch of quotes that I had absolutely no idea why I'm writing it in like a diary, and I didn't even know I was keeping a diary, but I did. Whatever the yogin sees is his instruction, and realization that all he sees is unborn. That is the most excellent guru. Innocence is the way to realize non-duality, for here the effects of virtue and vice are one. So non-duality, I got stuck with that for, I don't know, till 2010. No concept, no Buddhist professor to call up and be like, hey, and Google didn't exist back then. So I'm sitting in an Acura parking lot, cars getting worked on, leaves are swirling. I'm outside on a curb in Austin, and I've got Thich Nhat Hanh's Pieces Every Step book, the only non-sentence in the whole book. Well, there's a full sentence, and it goes blah, 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 non-duality, period. Not to, period. Incomplete sentence, not to. And I'm sitting there in 2010. I waited, what's 10 plus 10? 10 plus 8. 18 years to find out not to means non-duality. And I actually understood it at that point. And I was like, holy cow. And then I'm slow. Here's Thich Nhat Hanh. Pieces Every Step I can recommend because it's, super
yes.
quick, easy, thin little book.
Yes.
What's Thich Nhat Hanh saying? First, he can share a mudra, a mantra, a little bit of light, diamond consciousness, or a golden light, or both if you want to juggle. And Cynthia, you get a little rocked with this, but some words then for public consumption and privately to you. and share what you can share.
Wow. I just feel like he's sharing a pearl of self-realization. So, and it's in the heart. I can really feel it in the heart of the self-realization of, it's beyond words, but it feels like this pearl of love, just in the heart center. And that would be the public. And yeah, he's sharing with me that when I meditate, that this is being created for me too.
And
That's beautiful.
people at home can back it up. And if you want to do a mudra kind of cliche classic, you can do that, but feel what you can feel, do what you're going to do, ask them for a hug, ask a question, listen, play around a little, ask them to bring you a floral scent or incense. These are for the folks who are like, hey, no, wait, shh, I got this. Like you needed a little shove out of the nest and you're off to the races. Tell us which type of figure you'd like. Is it Buddha, Mary, Jesus, Muhammad? Is it an angel of some sort, chef's choice? You want a Native American chief, older Geronimo?
Yeah, and older Geronimo seems to be active.
And Geronimo steals the show because he's a little wily. He's pure action on everyone's team, kind of a grandfather, uncle figure. Pure action. He's delightful, though, because he's such a little spark, big spark.
Mhm.
What are you catching from Geronimo?
He feels like he's really here to unite humanity, to recognize who we are, that we're brothers and sisters, it's all about love. This is our time of awakening and just remembering. He said it can be very simple. He was sharing with me earlier that I need to connect with the earth right beneath my feet more, and that's very good advice. I always think I'm doing a good enough job, but apparently not. So apparently,
I love it. I'm shocked. There's some gambling going on in the casino. Okay, Plato, every spirit guide, unconditional love, the philosopher. He doesn't mind me putting it this way, what I'm about to say, but you can see the old man's face in the photo. Mustache, nose, two eyes, and if anybody's having trouble, I'll do this. And now look again. No hugs for him. They're sweaty. A fist pump tap on the shoulder. So people can ask a question here, a very clear voice. For 1 second, it might be your own internal voice, but let go a little more, breathe. And what does he have a reminder of about mankind? Awareness is coming. What does awareness mean for us going forward?
now we're about to transcend past assumptions and perceived limitations, is what he's showing. That's very interesting because he is the father of the Platonic solids, of course, and we are moving into something that might look more like an amplituhedron. He's fully aware of that. He's like, you guys are going interdimensional. Can I come with you? He wants to come with us.
I'll do okay. Again, Charlotte, two angels, Charlotte and Mac, but Charlotte's got an Orion background, Mac's got a Pleiadian background. And if you don't mind letting those energies come in a broad galactic, but Charlotte's been around the block, ancient Egypt, and loves helping people down on the ground, day-to-day assistance and advice. But can you have them go really big picture for a second? And Mac's everything plants, animals, and nature. So loves the earth.
Yeah, this really feels like a download. I mean, it's like very active, but very peaceful. That happened last time you showed me Mac too. I had no words. I'm like getting a download again. But it feels so good. It's just so nature-based. And Charlotte's just such a beacon of light and love.
I'll do a couple quotes by them. There was a time, maybe 10 years ago, there were three columns of just the same three questions across the top, but maybe like 50 figures, 40 figures gave their answers. They chose which question they wanted to answer. The first question is, what is ego about? The second question is, what is compassion about? And the third is, how can I consciously connect, expand more? But talking about mankind, how can the world, how will we, mankind, open up more? So I'll give you some random responses. Big Mary said, ego is blocking love. Jesus said, compassion is open eyes and open heart. Gabriel said, more interaction with each other. And he was the one that said human to human contact allows for soul to soul interactions. So I managed to retain something from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Michael mentioned that ego is getting lost in thoughts regarding tasks, goals, and perceived accomplishments. I'll do two more. I wanted to mention Max. Max said, compassion is treating every moment with the awareness of a newborn baby. And then Charlotte said, give me 1 second to find Charlotte. Here it is. About ego. Ego is fear, wasted time, and energy. What comes from all that? And if you want to let some of those energies come in as well, you're really good at talking about this. So what's our reminder for everybody watching and mankind?
Oh, those are beautiful. I just love it. I loved hearing the different takes on those um, beautiful. Those questions are huge. I mean, each question could fill a book with wonderful answers. But it seems like you got right to the core of things. Yeah, the high, and I love the questions too, like ego, compassion, and just what's going on for humanity right now. How do we connect? It seems I keep seeing this image, which I don't have. I didn't bring it with me, but it's that Hopi prophecy rock again. To lose the head, it feels like that's part of like the ego thing. One of them talked about the checklist and just getting things done, and that's kind of like losing our head. We could go that way, and that would be ego trying to run the show. But ego is not. If we let ourselves feel cut off, I don't think we do it on purpose. These quotes are powerful because they're sort of reminding me that accidentally we can fall into an egoic cutoff. We can separate ourselves accidentally by thinking like, I'm just going to get things done. I got my checklist. I'm doing all my stuff. But if we forget to come in and just treat each other with compassion, like the eyes of a newborn, and just really feel that connection, that's how to get it back. So it's simultaneously showing here's the problem, here's the answer. So the questions presented the problem and the answer, and so did the answers presented the problem and the answer. And the visual I'm getting is just that Hopi prophecy rock, like the little headless beings that are just sort of look like robots. That's the mistake in this time of great transformation, is to think that we can just automatically autopilot do what we always did. It's not going to be like that. We're going to need to look each day at one another like we've never seen any of this before. And that is going to get us through beautifully. And it's so amazing that the answers and the questions go together so well.
Hmm. And I'll throw out another one. This is just angels kind of collectively. Compassion for all is life. This is also about acceptance for all. Regard others as yourself generously and without fixation. Believe in all. And that's a little bit like the golden rule or Buddha, hatred does not cease with hatred, but, love and so on. Can you talk to us about how there's a lot of division, there's a lot of efforts to control, censor. You can only use this lingo on this topic. You can't say soccer, you have to say football. I get it. You live in Australia. But my point is, there's a lot of like one-way lanes, and it was never really like that. It was and it wasn't. It's the pendulum swinging. But we've got an extreme pendulum swinging. I thought, and I'll have to do a personal thing, if I was a senior in college and I had a class I had to take that was multiculturalism, and I knew if I spoke out the way I wanted to talk, I wouldn't do well in the class. And I followed the teacher's lead. I got an A. Poor football player who spoke his mind got crushed, almost didn't pass. I kind of regretted that. Was the one regret I had from college for not being me. But it was the whole, you have to fit in, you have to behave a certain way. I thought that was the peak of the whole thing until I got to the last like 3 years or so. And I'm like, whoa, that was nothing now. Forget about the 80s. Can you talk to us about how it's just broader than that? Be your own heart, consciousness, and more. But you've got the words for this.
Yeah. That's a great, I'm so glad that you shared that experience, because I think people can relate to that, even if they didn't go to college or they didn't exactly go through what you went through. I think we can all relate to that stay in your lane, chastisement, or even if it's not stated that baldly, we can feel the pressure that we're supposed to parrot back regurgitate whatever has been spoken to us as supposedly truth and not think for ourselves. But however, And maybe that's true. Maybe that's a survival thing in that moment, perhaps. But there's something bigger going on where we still need to think for ourselves.
Mm.
So even if we are parroting something back, it's important to, I'm so glad you remember that you felt differently, that you had your own ideas in that year in college. And you're certainly capable of sharing them now. And so the angel messages that we're hearing today are reminding all of us to be in that place of compassion. And if we're being told, or if we're being expected to do something heartless or headless, if we feel like it's pulling us apart, be aware of that decision point. Maybe there are some places that you want to stand out and be different, and maybe there's going to be a good time to do that. I think we can tell when that good time will be. Right now, it seems like it's crazy. This is a time of false, to me, it's false discernment. It seems like people are being separated into these crazy categories that I don't think any of us belong in. That's my take on it. I think, like, really, we're being split up by very idiosyncratic separational categories of religion, politics, social structure, status, and so forth. But uh, so those become fighting words if you identify with that group or don't. But there's going to be a way, there always will be a way that you can share from your heart that feeling of compassion and kindness. You can speak the greater truth in such a way that people may still try to put you into one of those camps. They may think that you belong there. Um, but it's important for us to bring sanity and a return to the original humanistic viewpoints. I've used a word rev humanism to what I mean by it is the humanism that was brought forth by the original indigenous wisdom keepers, the original humanism. There's been some conflict about the word humanism, even. You might think, how could that be? Well, it's crazy that there are certain humanists that don't agree with other humanists. So when I say rev humanism, it's the original. Rev meaning it's from the Greek and it means to renew, to revitalize. It's like a rebirth, and it's of the earth. When you keep showing the picture of Mac and that Pleiadian energy, it feels like that. It feels like that Mac energy. Yeah. So it's just of the earth. It's just the pattern that we know that we're here. Nature is good. Nature is love. Nature is everything. And just to feel that we're part of that. So we can, I guess what I'm suggesting is take a step back and be the bigger person if it's possible. Sometimes it's not possible, but do the best we can and be patient because the time is coming when rev humanism, when love, when this beautiful natural feeling of collaboration and this unity will be obviously clear. Right now, it's just chaos in some places.
Mother Teresa once said, if you judge people, you have no time to love them. And I'll add from what you were saying, total chaos, total topical chaos, cats and dogs sleeping together. Here's another way to do the quote for love. In the end, love is what shows us life in different colors. I think that's from a Netflix film. In the end, love is what shows us life in different colors. So the contrast, like Esther Hicks talks about, um, there's something where you're able to just go broader and have a broader perspective. You've had to live that many, many times over. Can you talk to us about how growth and expansion never stop and you always get a reminder of this the second you think you're done?
That's a funny one. Oh my gosh, yes. Well, it seems like you're right. It just keeps going on and on. As long as we're boots on the ground in a body, then it seems like growth and expansion can be happening. It's up to us, you know. So they say change is inevitable and growth is optional. So that may be true. Maybe change is inevitable. But when people watching your show, I think we're all growth oriented. I think we're aware, we're seekers. We're seeking knowledge, love, expansion, kindness. We're seeking an evolution of our souls to get to reach a vibratory frequency where we can feel like we're part of summoning in and invoking a golden age on earth, Shambhala, the prophesied time, which the indigenous elders did talk about. So, you know, we can be part of that and recognize it. And so doing that means expansion is happening as part of the growth. So we can expect for each of ourselves to be kinder, more loving, more compassionate, more understanding. to be the physical embodiment of what we most see as all of the good qualities that we would seek in the world. We can be that.
Okay, I have a photo with the most amount of angels ever. I moved it a little. It's a concert. I don't want this one guy's face and forehead showing, but it was not raining. There's joy in the middle. And it's
Wow.
not just orbs, it's a lot of angels showing in. It was either M83, Two Door Cinema Club, either Ireland or the French, almost the only alternative successful band ever in the history of French alternative music. Kidding. But it's Stubbs Barbecue in Austin, Texas. They have an incredible amphitheater. Number one, I think, so intimate, incredible. But Claire is the bright purple, pink is joy in the center. You could put your hand up and feel this and get a collective message from a lot of angels with a lot of backgrounds. Think Ryan Reynolds and Green Lantern and how they might all have the same uniform, but they all had different shapes, looks, body styles because they were from everywhere. And the unifying factor was unconditional love. What are you getting from a big group of loving universal beings?
Well, it's like woohoo! it's, it's like real celebrate, celebrate our love, celebrate this time. It's just really recognizing that we are the way forward. And that was some of the messages I was getting from, before we started today. I was getting some really cool stuff. I wrote some notes, Yeah, what I think they're saying these kind of things. I'm going to read some of the little things I got. That I'm at my best when I know that I'm blessed. I love that one. And what else? You are the miracle. That was, yeah. Trying to read I wrote some scribbles here. I should have said which angel was saying what. But these are like greatest hits and things that they're saying. Gosh, I was just getting yeah, they were giving gifts of dignity and love and just every high quality that we think that may be out of reach or maybe it's not of this time. And I could feel in that picture, like, no, it's all here. It's all here. It was just a real woohoo feeling.
So to recap, there's vibrations and there's characteristics that are part of our personality, whether they were there at the beginning or we've picked them up. Sometimes we can get gifted some assistance and it's part of our energetic makeup. And that expansion can include just taking the confidence you have on the athletic field as an artist, as a musician, and applying it to other quadrants of your life to simply allow more, love more, shine more. But now, can you add the patented, Cynthia Sue Larson methodology of talking about this and why it's so important that you just say you want it? And it's your quote, how good can it get?
Yes.
Over and over again. Sorry, I
Oh
had to
gosh.
look because I was like, oh, that's
Yeah, it's how good can it get? And that's the art of asking a question that we desire and we need to live the answer to. So by asking a question to this participatory universe, this participatory cosmos, we're totally engaged in receiving, even if you're just thinking it, even if you're thinking like, but I'm being cynical, I'm being sarcastic, Cynthia. This is a disaster. Like, yeah, go ahead, ask it anyway with all your heart, all your soul, even if it seems like what a joke, how good can it get? Like
I'm not having the best time ever, and you're running, and you're like, I'm not having the best time, but you start to laugh because you're saying it that way. The universe doesn't hear not,
yeah.
and I'm not worth $444 million. I'm not. And you know it, but that becomes a wordplay, and it actually does the job of the positivity mantra. If you're like, oh, I can't take
Oh,
people, but do the not and have fun with it, and it works out as positive because the not doesn't apply.
yes.
Ooh, we just tricked the whole system and it works.
Yeah, this is definitely part of John Archibald Wheeler. He's a physicist and he talked about black holes and white holes and he talked about it from bit and a whole bunch of things, great ideas. He was a genius level colleague of Albert Einstein, actually. And he's the one that was saying that when you ask nature a question, nature answers. And I totally agree with that. And so a lot of us, if you realize you're not asking questions, that's what you're encouraging today, Michael. Ask questions and ask the questions that you most want to live the answer to. So how good can it get? How good can my life get? How healthy can I be? How healthy can my relationships be? How blessed can I be in every way in my life? These are good questions to run the whole show with. And you've got a team. We all do. these are the angels we're talking about today. They're quite real. And so we're not alone. We've got a lot of support.
Oh, I love it. Cynthia, what's a final something that you can share with us about anything? What's just a basic step a person could take before bed, during the day, to go all crazy Ivan? I'm going to do a Hunt for Red October, like a 1988 movie reference, where you do a 180. Instead of doing what you're doing, you turn. It's a Soviet submarine reference where they would do a 180 underwater to see if an American submarine was tracking them. That's the only way to get around the cone, the baffle behind the sub. My point is, how can you stop what you're doing, the thought train, the
Yeah.
flight train every day, to just whoop, and check in with the universe?
Yeah, well, I think a good one that people sometimes skip is checking in with ourselves. So you want to hear like what's the soundtrack running in the background of your head. If it's not something you like, you can switch it out. If it's some people literally hear a song and it might be badgering them, but then bring in a good song that you like. Same thing with thoughts and beliefs. So some people don't realize, they think, yeah, but this is not just my belief that I've got money problems. I have money problems. Whatever you think the problem is, you've got angels, you've got support, and everything can change in a heartbeat, in a moment. And it's my favorite cheat code for the whole thing is just to say, this is a master level cheat code, just talking with source, oneness, creator, God, the absolute, whatever you want to call it. Just saying, okay, thank you, source, oneness, God, creator, for removing everything and anything that's interfering with me from finding out how good it can get in my life, from receiving perfect, magnificent abundance in my life. And so it helps if you mean it, because this can bring about transformational change in your entire persona and being. But when you get to that point, like, I'm ready for this, then do it. Just say, okay, I mean it. Whatever's in the way, whatever's interfering, clear it from me. And I would add in, how good can it get? Because it's going to just smooth the process. So it won't be like anything nasty. It could actually be a fun process as well.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to add in a addendum of a small sample of European high-end chocolates, a 4 square, just 4 pieces, and that those little 4 pieces can come in as you're shocked within 24 hours that night, the next day at the latest. Something happens from the universe that you go, whoa, did what synchronicity, serendipity, that you are stunned, that you fall in love with life again, and it allows the bigger stuff, all the important stuff that the brain has emphasis on, to you're like paying more attention now because something small happened. I'll make it up. People always talk about signs and there's a feather at your doorstep. We're talking a real feather. um it's possible to get an electronic feather made out of angel light in your kitchen. You're pouring your tea and you look up and you're like, wait, what? And it's spinning and it lands on the edge of, not your teacup, so you don't like worry about drinking your tea, but on another glass. You hadn't put all the glasses away yet. It lands and balances. It's made out of electric angel light. It's love. You're like, what? Maybe it's not there in an hour. I don't know, but you won't have to vacuum later. Don't blame me, by the way, for vacuuming if it's glitter everywhere. But get something so stupendous, because if you don't allow, if you don't ask, you don't get. And how do you get out of your own way? Think about it this way. Forget everything we've talked about. How much are you allowing for to begin with the ho-hum, rinse, repeat job, the certain relationships and the certain whatever? Good luck with that, because again, it's all brain oriented, which doesn't have a lot of creativity to it. Okay. One plug for your show, though. Tell us about why people should tune in to your show. You're show host of a show.
Yeah, that's Living the Quantum Dream, and it's a podcast. So the shows are all archived right there at Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. You'll hear some of the best interviews with some of the greatest minds, physicists. But I bring in the quantum, I bring in the mystical, because I am very mystical by nature and I love the science, but I keep it down to earth. So you'll love that. The other show that I'm doing is with International Mandela Effect Conference, and we do a live stream once a month. So we'll be doing one this month, and we talk about amazing reality shifts, magic. Sometimes angels come up, so definitely check that out. And we've got a channel on YouTube, and the website for that to find out about what's going on with everything, it's imec.world. Then my own website for all my news and my newsletter, that's realityshifters.com.
Okay, last quote, and this is from a NASA astronaut, Story Musgrave, and this is a reminder for us all. Getting out of the comfortable path That's what exploration is all about. This has been Cynthia Sue Larson joining us on Angels, Positivity, and Love. It is time to hit that subscribe button, like, share, comment. And first of all, just enjoy this. Cynthia, thank you so much for coming on the APL show. I am very grateful for you being here.
Thank you for everything you're doing, Michael. You're such a gem.
Oh,
You're an angel. Love you.
thank you.